Hey everyone, it's Wayne here from the Not Done Yet Adventures group. I'm getting ready to do a quick little upgrade to my machine. I have a Yamaha Rmax 1000 2022. The version I bought does not come with the Dmode Switch. So I've purchased a Dmode Switch. I'm going to go ahead and install that today. We'll walk you around the machine a little bit, show you a little bit about it, and then we'll go ahead and do the install. Let's get started. All right, so what we have here is the 2022 Rmax 1000 R-Spec. This comes pretty much no frills. It doesn't have a lot of the options on it that most of them have when they come out. For instance, it didn't have a winch on it. Didn't come with the Fender Flairs that you're going to see as I go around here. Didn't have the Dmode Switch, is what we're going to install today. So it's a stripped down version that you can get in a little cheaper and then kind of do the work yourself, which kind of interested me. One, cheaper, and two, I like tinkering around with things. So as we look at this, the decals on the front do not come with the machine. Those were put on by me. Made those on my wife's Cricket. So there's 8 stickers there for the Ohio State Buckeyes, one for each national championship. And then I've got the mud horn from Star Wars because I'm a geek. But as we move around the machine here, where you have the Fender Flairs that I put on, we'll talk about that in a later video. I highly recommend getting the Fender Flairs for the amount of mud that ended up inside the machine before I had them. And I'll post some pictures of that as well. As we come around the machine, they have these half doors. Open from the inside. As you can see, pretty spacious in there for being a smaller machine. Got the grab handles there for when I scare my wife. A couple things that I put inside here. We have 2 USB charging ports. And each one of those charging ports has 2 USB slots, so I can charge 4 things right now. This switch here is for the winch that I put in. Sorry about that. And like I said, the interior is pretty comfortable. Has rubberized spots where your legs and stuff tend to touch while you're riding and slam up against the doors and stuff. This is all rubberized. Seats are fairly comfortable. One thing that I don't like necessarily is the seat belts. They tend to rub your neck as you're bouncing around and stuff. So I'm considering replacing those with a harness system, but that'll be later. Again, back to the Fender Flairs that I put on. I also put the back windshield on. This was a couple $100 from Super ATV. We'll post links to all this stuff on the comments below. Again, stickers on the back are mostly ones I made, the white ones anyway. The Not Done Yet Adventures was supplied by Rob. Thank you, Rob. In the back of the machine, to carry these totes, got them from Home Depot. They fit real nice with these plastic little ammo cans I bought behind them. Makes everything not slide forward and back. The ammo cans I keep as a tire repair kit. I have tools in that one. There's a third one over there that I have ratchet straps and stuff in. But you can close the bed the way it sits right there. And I also added these clips to the bottom portion of the bed just to make it easier to clip on this little cargo net, Bungee Cargo Net. And then obviously I just take that, throw it over the bins, keeps it from popping out if we hit any big bumps, things like that. Seems to work pretty good. Again, moving around the machine, it does, let me shut the bed here, does have a dump bed. So you pull this little handle down here, the machine pops up, things slide around because I didn't have them strapped in. But then you can dump things out of the bed. You can kind of clean it up a little easier, things like that. Clips right back into place. Again, the inside from the driver's side, all the rubberized stuff. The Dmode switch we're going to be installing goes in this little spot here. This plug will pop out as we go through. We'll install that. In order to install that, we're going to have to take the windshield off because this front panel here I'm going to have to take off. And then the firewall will come off as well. We'll run the wires through. The switch is just a small little switch with a couple pigtails. A couple other things I've done. I bought this little net that goes on top. So I can, a little bit of extra storage up here. I took a headlamp, took the elastic off of it, and I put that up here to use as like a dome light. And I just drilled a hole through this little plastic piece, zip stripped it in there, just because we ran into a couple spots where it's getting dark. It's a little hard to see in here if we're trying to look at any sort of trail maps or anything like that. The rear windshield does have a vent in it. Open that vent up, lets some air through. Works pretty nice. This is just a bicycle bag I put in there to store some things, carry it around. There is a little spot on mine because this also does not come with a GPS unit. And I have not put a GPS unit in it. But this actually opens up. You can kind of hide some stuff in there. A lot of people don't realize, people just walking up don't necessarily realize that opens. So sometimes I hide flashlights and things like that in there. Throwing the keys in there if I didn't want to carry them around. So that's going to be the machine. Here again, I put the winch on myself. I got that winch from Harbor Freight. It is a Badlands ZXR 5000. It was about $260, I believe. This bumper here, I had to remove that and I had to do a little bit of modification to the bracket for the fair lead, just because it didn't quite fit in there, and it was just due to welds. Like the size was perfect, but the welds wouldn't let it seat correctly. So I nipped a little bit off the framing of the fair lead there. And then there's a couple little plastic pieces right here that I had to nip the very bottom of. Just used my Dremel, rounded it out a little bit so that the plastic piece would go on there. Other than that, we'll go ahead. I'm going to get the hood off and start taking things apart. Okay, so I'm going to start with removing the windshield so we can get in here. The hood does come off without taking the windshield off. So we'll pop that off here in a second. But this windshield is a quick release windshield. This one happened to come with the machine. It was an aftermarket part that the dealer had put on before I purchased it. But as you bring this over real quick, the quick release mechanisms, there's two on each side. You'll see it right here. In order to release that, you pull this lever, unhook it like so. This flops open. Same thing with the bottom one. Release that, pull here. We'll go around the other side, do the same thing on the other side. Open that clip. Open the bottom clip. Make sure we get this all off. Open these up. And now the windshield is ready to come off. So we'll go ahead and set the camera back down here. Okay. And then from there, all you have to do is grab the windshield. It's got to pop out from under the roof just a little bit, and that thing comes right off. It's a nice nifty little system there for taking this off. I highly recommend it if that's what you're looking to do. Put a windshield on. Again, they do not necessarily come with a windshield. Next, we're going to pop the hood off. The hood on these things, there's two lockdown devices. You put the two levers up, give them a half twist or a quarter twist, and then you have to pop the hood up here, and then it slides forward just a hair, and then she comes right off. Don't mind all the dirt in there. That's from our Upper Peninsula trip that we took. It was very, very dusty, very, very muddy. We didn't get rain for several days while we were there, and the longer we drove, the dustier it got. So the inside's kind of caked. I just haven't went through to try to clean that out as of yet. So the next thing we're going to do, we have to remove screws along here. There is 6 of them. There is, I believe, 9 bolts right here holding the firewall on. These 2 pieces will come off. We'll be able to see then the pigtails to connect our Dmode switch. The Dmode switch I have here, I did go with the factory Yamaha Dmode switch to go to sport, trail, and crawl mode. Comes with a short little pigtail. These will connect directly into the pigtails that are behind the firewall. So let's start taking that apart. Okay, so for the firewall, we have 9 of these little bolts to take out. They are 10mm bolts. So you just have to take those out. When you're unclipping, or when you get all the bolts out, a couple things you have to pay attention to is this little piece on the Rmax is actually clipped in to the firewall here, or to this top piece of the dash. So you have to usually use a little screwdriver and pry that out real nice and easy. Same thing on the other side. There's another one over here. Same thing. Then that'll pop out as you're popping it out. You don't want to just rip it right out. You have a couple of little vacuum hoses here, a vacuum hose here, a wire that comes through right here that I believe I ran, to tell you the truth. You don't want to just go ripping that firewall straight out. You do want to be a little careful coming out with it, just to make sure you're not tugging any wires or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm not going to bore you with pulling the bolts. I will video again when I start unclipping it from the dash, just so you can see that real quick. Okay, so as I started taking this apart, there's one thing I did forget to tell you, that there is a bolt, as you can see underneath here, right here, that's standing above. You don't necessarily see, so there is that bolt on both sides. Again, right now I've taken one bolt out and then forgot to mention that there is a bolt up under here that you can't necessarily see. So I want to make sure I pointed that out. So when you're going to try to take it apart, you don't not realize those are there. Okay, as I said, these little clips here do tie the firewall into the dash. So we're gonna usually pull this out just a little bit, get a nice flat blade screwdriver in there, give her a little half twist, kind of all the way across, and pop that out nice and easy. I'm gonna do the same thing over here on the other side, and then we'll pull the firewall out and show you what it looks like in there after the firewall's out. Okay, I have the firewall all unclipped now. We're gonna slowly kind of pull this back to reveal the hoses here. These you just kind of feed out. They're not connected in any way, they just loop around there. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. And then we're gonna slide it back on this cable that I had run before. So as you can see in here, move the camera around a little bit. Kind of get it positioned on this other side here. This is where we're going to be working. These are the leads I was telling you about. They're to connect other things. You can see I've utilized a few here. We got some more down in here. But these are just extra accessory leads they add for you to add accessories. So I'm now going to take the dash portion of this out, this little dash extension. There's 6 screws here, but you only need to remove 4. When you remove those 4, this piece will come off and give us a little more room to see down in there as to where we're going and try to feed everything through. So let me get those screws out and I will show you here in a second. So one thing I forgot is I took out the 4 screws for the dash here to take this piece off. There is one other bolt. This is a 10mm also that I forgot was on the inside, mainly because I don't take this apart every day. But this bolt has to come out too for this plastic piece in the front to come out that you know, allows the windshield to set correctly. So let's start taking that piece out. Real quick. Just that simple. Except I wasn't supposed to throw it on the floor. So that being said, one thing I'd like to mention is it's always nice to have something to put these things in. So this little plastic container here, every time I buy electrical tape, I try to buy the ones with the little plastic containers, and I use those to put all my little nuts and bolts in when I'm taking stuff apart, so if I knock them down, they don't go everywhere. So now this piece should slide right out, like so. And you can see it gives us a lot more room in there to work. Again, we're going to be connecting into these here. Be connecting, I believe, into the black one and one of these white ones. And we got to get down in here to pop the plug out. So again, the plug is inside the machine right here. We need to pop this plug out. I could just take a screwdriver and pop it out. I just don't want to scratch everything all up. I think it'll be easier to pop from the inside. So I'm going to work on popping that out real quick. And once I pop that out, we'll test the switch first, make sure it works. I don't want to pop the switch in there, get it all stuck in place, and then find out that I bought a bad switch or something. So we'll test it, make sure it works, and then I will seat it in there permanently, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we are going to connect this Dmode switch right here. I am going to connect it to this 4-port lead and this 2-port lead. In order to do that, you got to pull these caps off. I did do this one first. I had to take a little screwdriver and pry right down in here in order to get it to come off. But that's just a cap to keep it weather safe when it's not in use. And you'll see it's the same thing here. To pop this one off, stand by just a second. Let me put my camera in here. So we're just gonna pop this little cable here, pops right off, and then this black one will go on here and snap in. This white one will go on here and snap in. Dmode switch is now connected. Obviously not connected where it goes. Like I said, I want to test this thing before I snap everything in place and make sure we're good. Okay, so I was mistaken. There were two other leads that I did not see down in here. We have a white lead and a black lead here. I have to take these two caps off in order to utilize them. This one here will be to light up the switch. This one here will be to run the D modes. So let me snap this camera in real quick. We'll pull this cap off. Maybe. I might have to use a little screwdriver to get her going. Push this little clip in and I'm going to give her a twist. Okay, there's that. And then we have the black one as well. There's another little clip here. That black piece pops off. Those caps are just to keep these connections from getting wet when they're not in use. So then I'm going to connect this one here and this one here. They snap into place. And again, I'm doing this just to test. It is not where it's going to go as its final entry here. So we're gonna come over here. We're gonna turn the machine on, or at least get power to it. So there we go. We got power. If you see now, we're already good because we're in crawl mode, which I could never get to before because it's always by default in trail mode. And then there is sport mode. So our Dmode switch does work. So now I'm gonna stop the camera here. I'm gonna pop out this plug. I'm going to seat it correctly and reconnect it all back up, and then we should be good to go. Alrighty. So just to show you, the plug I'm trying to pop out is right there where the light's at. Doing this from the inside is going to keep me from scratching things up. But obviously it's a little tight to get down in there, especially since I kind of have some big fat hands. So I'm going to pop that out. I'll show you from the other side once I got it out, and then we'll get the switch in. Alrighty, well that turned into a little bit more of a chore than I thought it was going to be. But as you can see here, I did get it out. Ultimately, I tried sticking a piece of wood in there and giving her a little pop with a hammer. I just didn't want to break anything as far as the dash was concerned. Ultimately, I ended up taking a screwdriver to bend these tabs in, as you can see here. And what I'll say is those tabs are pretty much shot, but I only did do 2 of them. I did this one, which was as it was oriented, was the top, and then this side, once I got these 2 bent out of the way, then I was able to pop it out pretty easy. But as you can see, the tabs are kind of broken now. Not that I'll ever need them again, but those tabs are broken, which then also leads me to saying that it was probably a pretty good idea that I tested it first to make sure it works, because I have a sneaky suspicion this would even be harder to get out. It does only have 2 clips that seem to lock in, but I'm not real certain how you would get your hand in there to release those very easily. Might have been able to do it with a screwdriver. They do seem to be a little easier to bend in place, but yeah, I think that would have been a little more difficult if for some reason I got it in and the switch did not work for some reason. So I would highly suggest in these cases that you test these things prior to locking them in place. So I'm going to go ahead, put it in, connect it, and show you the after product there. And then that'll be the end of this video. Thanks. Alrighty, well here we go. Moment of truth. After everything is all back in, we're going to turn her on, or turn on the accessory anyway. As you can see here, we're in trail mode. The Dmode switch lights up nice and neat. And if you watch the modes there, we can switch from sport to trail to crawl. So that's really it. Other than that, I'm not going to bore you with putting this thing back together. And we'll see you next time from Not Done Yet Adventures.
Jerry, Wayne, and Greg was a threesome. You get a better deal.
What kind of truth is this?